Good evening. Welcome to Sharp Talk Live. It has been some time since we've had the privilege and the opportunity to be before you all, but we are so blessed to be here and always very grateful for your support and your viewership. And I know tonight we are absolutely elated and privileged to have a very special guest with us. Dad, do you want to talk a little bit more about our guest?
Thrilled to have a former teammate of mine with the St. Louis and Arizona Cardinals. This man set the example for me as I was learning the ropes in the NFL as a young player, and now we have a similar story, a similar testimony with life outside of football, and I'm excited. I'm excited to interview our special guest, Joe Bostic. Want to welcome everyone, and what a glorious day today is. Thankful that I woke up. I was on the wake up list this morning.
Amen.
And we have healthy bodies, and we have a roof over our head, food in our refrigerators. I got to be grateful for life and life more abundantly.
Absolutely. I love the attitude of gratitude. So without any further ado, we would love to introduce 11-year NFL football player, longtime Sharp family friend, father of three, Mr. Joe Bostic. Thank you so much for being on with us tonight. Welcome.
I am glad to be here. So nice to see you guys.
Joe Bostic, what's up, my brother? Thank you so much for taking the time to share
good life
with us.
over here. Good life.
It was awesome.
Kind of keep your life in order and follow the big guys' directions, and it seems like things go well.
Absolutely. I was just telling someone on Facebook, because I like to post pictures. So many people have told me that I inspire them with physical workouts. And one of the guys was complimentary today when I posted, and I told him, I'm just learning that as long as I turn my life over to God on a daily basis and let Him run my life, the evidence, the proof is in the pudding, and that's what we do. We're going to talk a little bit more about that, Joe. But again, we thank you so much for joining Sharp Talk.
Absolutely. It's great to be here. Great to re-emerge from our sabbatical and have you join us tonight. So I'd love to start off, and this is where I always try to start, with a little bit more about where you grew up. Tell our audience about your formative years and what really shaped your passion for football.
Well, I grew up in Greensboro, North Carolina. My brother Jeff, he played 14 years with the Washington Redskins, and we came up through the school ranks, and had two wonderful parents that really, gave us opportunities to be able to get into the NFL. First of all, both of us went to Clemson and played football there on scholarship, and then I got drafted in 1979, and then got picked up by the Redskins in 1980. So I played 11 years. He played 14, and really just had a glorious opportunity, and to be able to play in the NFL, and really much more important than that was the wonderful people that we all got to meet, and it's just been a great life.
Absolutely. And Joe, you talked about being drafted in 1979, and our head coach, our beloved head coach, Jim Hanifin, can't start this program, this show, without mentioning him. Rest in peace. We recently lost Coach Hanifin. And talk about Coach Hanny, what he meant to you as a player, what kind of relationship you had with him, and what do you remember most about Hanny?
And as you well know, Louis, Hanny was I don't know that I ever had a head coach quite like him. He was about as personable a coach with players of anybody that I've ever been associated with. He really loved the game, and he loved his players. And, and he's one of those guys that wore his emotions on his sleeves. Those nights we would have pregame talks, and, and he would, I remember we were playing the Raiders one time, and he was from California. And I mean, he was just, all over himself with all that. And, a guy that's easy to love, a very knowledgeable guy. He had coached so many just Pro Bowl, All-Pro, Hall of Fame guys on the line, and very renowned offensive line coach. And, and as fate would have it, he ended up being head coach for us for 5 years. And then went on was Jeff's coach with the Redskins. So
wow.
both of the Bostic boys, got a pretty good helping of Jim Hannafin. And, I'd spoken to him probably about 2 years ago. And, same old Hanny, just, hey, babe. He had a way of talking and conversation, and never met, everybody was his friend. I mean, he was just an open guy, and maybe too open. I don't know, but he wonderful person. I really, respected him and loved him a lot.
Very personable coach, and really is the reason I think in my formative years, men like yourself and Dan Deerdorf and Terry Steve and Coach Hannafin really taught myself and youngsters like Tootie Robbins, us, the ropes and how to play offensive line at the NFL level. I'd like to thank you for that. And I want to talk a little bit about Jeff. Jeff played 14 years with the Redskins, your brother Jeff, and he played in 4 Super Bowls. Talk about some of the matchups that we had against the Redskins. We almost beat them and made it into the playoffs. Your memory is better than mine. But talk about your experience, Cardinals versus Redskins.
We really had some tough times. My son, he found this football here, against the Redskins. The 26-24 that we played them in 1984. I've got a picture somewhere where all of us were lined up, and Neil Lomax is sitting in the front with his tongue out. But
I've seen that picture. Yeah,
we got our brains beat out a few times against the Redskins, but 84 was a magical year for us, and we beat the Redskins here in St. Louis in October, and then we had to play in the very last game of the year, and and they scored a field goal late in the game, and Neil O'Donoghue came in and missed a field goal for us, and we would have won the division that year if we would have made that field goal. And that was the most heartbroken of any game I ever played with the Cardinals. When we had to walk off that field. I mean, we literally left every ounce of energy, whatever we had on that field that day. I mean, we played as hard as we could. We were down like 24-7 at halftime, and then we started storming back. And they had that highlight film at the end of the year, John Facenda, and I'll never forget with Neil Lomax. He said he came out in the second half and started throwing rope after deadly rope. And that's what it was. He threw for 468 yards that day. It was quite a game.
It was quite a game. And if my memory serves me correctly, there was a very controversial call. EJ Jr., personal foul. He
roughing the passer.
Your memory, tell us about what you remember about that play.
Yeah, it was. Our defense had really started stoning these guys the second half, and then as it would be, they were like on a third down and maybe 15, 18 or something, and EJ comes flying through there, and it may have been a little rougher than whatever, but it's a big game. I mean, you lose a game over something like that, and it's just very unfortunate. But there were as you look back on our career with the Cardinals, there were just so many little times that we were almost there, and we just could not quite get over the hump. And guys like you and Terry Steve, and a lot of guys on that team were just tough, hard-nosed, just battlers that just would not quit, would not slow down, would not, and there were so many times we just walk off that field just dejected. And, I wish things would have been better. And, you were talking about Jeff playing in 4 Super Bowls. I got to hear about it quite a bit.
I'm sure the holiday times were very, very interesting. Lots of great stories shared, right?
And my brother has got a mouth on him. So he liked to tell you every little detail and fill in the blanks for you. But and I'm happy for him. But, some of that stuff got a little old to listen to.
4 Super Bowls. So how many rings did he actually capture?
4.
Oh, he won all 4 of them.
No, they lost. They had played they played the Dolphins in 82 and won. They lost to the Raiders in 83 or 4. They beat the Buffalo Bills, I think, in '87, and no, they beat the Denver Broncos in 1987, and beat the Buffalo Bills in 1992.
Quite the run. Quite
Yeah,
the run.
we had beaten. That's one of my little claim to fame is we had beaten the Raiders. I think it was the next last game in LA, and then I 6 weeks later, Jeff and him were playing for the Super Bowl. I said, I'm sitting there telling Jeff, I said, how'd y'all lose those guys? I mean, we took care of business, and we took care of business in their place.
I got to mention this. We were in South Carolina. We had the pleasure, Tamika and I, of fellowshipping and going to lunch with you that day. And you brought to memory an experience. Tell us about what I said to Lyle Alzado in the huddle and how you corrected me. It's kind of a funny story. Can you share that with the audience?
Yeah, we're going back and forth, and the Raiders are such a kind of a mouthy bunch anyway. They were just very high strung guys. Matt Millen and Howie Long, and then Lyle Alzado. You're playing against him, and y'all are going back and forth, and I'm over here in the conversation over here out of my left ear, and you say, Alzado, I'm gonna get my 375, and talking about a gun or something, and and I'm over here laughing on the side, and we finally get in the huddle, and the quarterback say, and I said, hey Louis, it's a 357, it's not. I mean, we shouldn't have been talking like that anyway, but I think the average person would be very, very surprised at some of the stuff that gets said. In the huddles or outside the huddles, during the plays, in between plays.
Absolutely. So I want to just kind of take the conversation back a little bit again, because you've been talking about the times with the Cardinals, and, you guys didn't have the most decorated opportunities, with that organization. However, you did play for Clemson in college, and I know that is a very accomplished organization. Can you talk to us a little bit about your time at Clemson and what it means to you to be an alumnus of that football program?
Yeah, it's been a really wonderful journey. I got recruited here in 1974, and Clemson had a 7-4 season, and I come here in 1975, and we have a 2-9 season. And I am really scratching my head. If they had had a transfer portal, Louis and I may have been teammates, but it would have probably been some other team I would have graduated for, because I was really, really frustrated. But as things would go, we ended up 11-1 my senior year in 1978, and that was the Woody Hayes game where Woody hit one of our players on the team on the sideline, got fired. So we ended up 11-1. We were 6th in the country, so we made quite a bit of going from 2-9 and 3 years later we're 11-1. So it was a neat deal. And now
divine turnaround.
Yeah, and Clemson now. We're a top 2 or 3 or 4 program year in and year out, and we're recruiting guys. 85,000 seat stadium, $52 million football facility, an indoor football facility, a practice field, 100-yard field, and all that. So a lot has changed in at Clemson University as far as football, and and it's. As an old guy, I mean, I got one little pebble in the wall, just like I got a little pebble in the Cardinal wall. I contributed whatever little bit I did, but I'm grateful that I had the opportunity to play for Clemson. I'm also grateful I had the opportunity to play for the Cardinals.
Absolutely.
Hats off to Dabo Swinney. What is his name?
William Christopher Dabo Swinney.
Dabo Swinney, that he's a man of God. And he is about those children, those young men that he coaches, and steering them to become all that they can become during their 4 years of college there. And what I love most about him is the intimacy of his relationship with God. He always speaks about God in his press conferences whenever he's interviewed.
He is really, as a head coach, he's one of the most unapologetic Christians I've ever seen. And, and he doesn't try to force feed you, I believe this is what you should believe, but he does believe very strongly that that there's a power out there greater than ourselves that can help you and get you through things, because we're all going to be faced with difficult situations. Sometimes, most of the time, it's stuff that we've made of ourselves. Sometimes it's just things that happen, and sometimes our own personal will is just not enough to get us through trying times, and. And I think, to me, Dabo Swinney's a great football coach, but he's a better human being than he is a football coach.
Amen.
And, speaking about just being unashamed of the gospel and really being unapologetic in our faith, can you talk about your journey with your faith and how it has really transformed you into the person that you are today?
Yeah, I grew up in a Christian household. My mother was very devout in church and taking us to church and Sunday schools and all that stuff. But, as I came along with the athletic thing, really the athletics became my God. And, very, very insecure guy. I don't know if Louis, if you were like this as a young kid, but I was always so much bigger than everybody and just felt out of place and awkward and socially inept and all that stuff. So, I'm kind of this dorky kid, and I just wanted to be a little 5'10", 180-pound, blonde-headed, blue-eyed kid that, mixed in and could wear normal clothes. We had to go buy all these ugly clothes that, that didn't fit right and all kinds of stuff. But once I started, going through the athletics thing, then it all kind of flipped around, because all those little guys that, I wanted to be like them, they weren't getting letters from colleges and places to go to school for free. So it almost kind of flipped over on its ear there. And so my whole value and worth was around, the ability to play ball and be on a team, especially, like in Greensboro, North Carolina, where I grew up, there was nobody that was playing in the NFL. And it got to be a point where just the Bostic brothers were doing that. So, the ego and all the other stuff that is worthless, it really, really got pumped up. And so, but I still believed in God, but I didn't have a relationship with God. I believed in God, and I would have told you I was a Christian. I would go to the FCA meetings and all that. But as far as me exercising a reliance and a relationship with God, that was not the case.
Yeah, thank you so much for your transparency. And so, was there a specific defining moment in your life where all of that began to switch for you, or what really was the impetus of your transformation?
Well, it was over a longer period of time. Started as I was playing in college and playing in pro ball. The game's over with. They used to have the big old Budweiser bus in front of the stadium, Louis, at Busch Stadium back when we were playing, and the guy had his big bus out there. And I mean, I was the first guy, hey, give me a beer, and started drinking and all that. And, had this mindset that, hey, I play hard and I work hard and, I deserve a break. And, if I want to have a few beers and blah, 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 blah. Well, as life went on throughout my career, I got to be a full-blown alcoholic. And, toward the latter part of my career, I know that this thing is really eating me up, but I didn't know how to get out of it, and as a player with the team, the last thing I want to do is go to Mr. Bidwell or the coach or whoever it was and said, hey, I need to go to some facility. I need to go get some treatment. I need to, this and that. Because, the first thing in my mind was they're going, yeah, you need to do that, but you need to get out of here too. We're going to cut you and get rid of you. So I'm trying to do this balancing act and, trying to satisfy my addiction, but also, not bring so much attention upon myself that, that really gets you in trouble. So I think I told Louis this the other day that, I was driving in St. Louis. I'd been in a bar all that evening, March 26, 1989, and I'm driving up Ladue Road going back to my home in Chesterfield, Missouri. And I just pulled the car over to the side of the road, and I said, God, I need some help. I said, man, I'm getting pulverized. And I'll never forget, I'm verbally saying this in the car. And I said, God, I would not blame you if you thumbed your nose at me and told me to go to hell. I said, I've been sitting here making deals with you forever, and I have not kept one of them to this point. And I don't know, something in that car, it felt like I'd gotten hooked up to some kind of water, and it felt like it just washed my body out. I mean, it's just this warm water feeling. It was weird. I didn't hear any voices, but it just felt like warm water running through my body. And I remember I went home. My wife at the time, I told her, I said, hey, I'm going out to Phoenix to get, in some kind of treatment facility or something, get my life straightened out. I don't know if it'll help our marriage one way. I really don't care. And I went to bed that night. And since that day,
Wow.
I've never had a desire to drink again.
Wow.
And so I can say firsthand that God works, and he does things, and picks us up when we're at our very, very, very lowest. And since then, it's just been I have developed a relationship with God, because I know what the power that he has and how much he loves me. That more so is how much he loves me, that he would take time and get in that car with 18 gazillion people in this world, and for whatever little amount of time, for him to come in that car and to personally save me. I mean, that's huge. And and it may have been something else, but that's the best explanation I've got. And so, it still makes hairs on my arm.
Yeah.
Just every time I think about it, because I mean, I don't remember from the day I started drinking it of not going a week without drinking once I started drinking at 18 years old. I don't remember until that night not going a week without drinking something for a week. And here I am now. I went to a meeting the other night and I told my story, and it was like 11,800 days since I've had any alcohol put in my body. And I don't say that like, oh, I've really accomplished something. I just say that you can take a hopeless alcoholic like me, and that, if you follow this program and you follow recovery and you follow God, this is possible. And so that's the main thing I want, anybody that I run into, that, you don't have to live like this anymore. That your life, and my life's gotten a zillion times better.
What a testimony. What a testimony. And what you shared, only God could accomplish that in a human being's life. I have a similar testimony. I've not been clean 11,000 days like you have. And that's one of the wonderful things that God is doing in my life, is hooking us up together, so that now that we can the Bible says iron sharpens iron, we can talk and I can share with you. And as you were talking about, when you recognize that you needed help, and the shame and the guilt about approaching your superiors about your problem and what was going to happen, that's one of the things. It says that our secrets keep us sick.
Yep.
And when we come forward with our secrets and share honestly and openly and become transparent, there's a tremendous healing process that happens in the recovery community. Talk a little bit about the honest sharing.
Well, those burdens, once you start sharing those burdens, they get divided. And I think, you carry it and you don't even know you're carrying it for me or helping me carry it. And, I remember in 89, I got hurt, tore my quadricep in 89 at training camp. So I was just, I was hanging around. You guys were playing games, and, I was with the team and all that, but I just kind of made my mind up. I knew my career was over with. I'd gotten hurt, and I was, bad teams, and it's just, I was in my 11th year. I hadn't played in a long time, and I just kind of knew it was that kind of time. So
yeah,
I just kind of made it a point that I was going to tell everybody on that team what I was doing. And I was in early recovery and early sobriety, but if I could have helped somebody out, one of the guys on the team said, hey man, I'm drinking a little too much, or doing this or doing that, drugs or whatever, and I could have helped them, I at least wanted to share with those guys that, they didn't have to do this by themselves. And, now, like I said, over the 32 years I've been sober, and the number of people I've met, and the great people in recovery, but also, just as important is the people that have relapsed and died. that I've seen.
Yes. Yes.
They keep me sober too, and I'm sure
Yes.
in your time you've seen a number of them go down. And I was a drinker. I wasn't much on the drugs, but it didn't matter. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
What trips your trigger, may not trip my trigger, but the one thing you and I had in common was we were going down that road to get out of where we were at sober, not drinking. Didn't feel good about our life, wanted some relief, wanted to escape, wanted something different. And we were going to, take whatever we had to take to get to that nirvana feeling, whatever we thought that nirvana feeling was. And, it just gets to be very detrimental, tears up families and careers and just everything.
Absolutely, Joe Bob. And one final question, and I know Rebekah is itching because she loves to talk, just like her dad.
Oh, wow.
But she's itching to ask a
Company,
question.
right?
But let's say I'm watching the show, Luis Sharp, Joe Bostic, former NFL players. They're recovering addicts and alcoholics, and they're living productive and responsible lives. They both look good. I'm obsessed. I'm compulsed. I'm listening to this show. It says that our living skills have been reduced to the animal level. Our spirits are broken. We have lost the capacity to feel human again. What do you say to that person that's watching this program right now?
Well, they, I hope that what they will do is watch what we're saying and listen to what we say and realize, because the worst place you can ever be is in a hopeless situation. And when I say that, is when you in your mind think there is absolutely no way I can get out from under this problem that I have. Well, I'm going to argue with you about that. I don't care how bad your situation is, if you still have hope. And if you're willing to do what you need to do to get better, then you've got an opportunity to make a turnaround. And anybody that sees you, anybody that sees me, 30 some years ago, I'm telling you, I was a friggin' mess. And I was staying in the bar 15 hours straight drinking.
Wow.
And some woman's telling me it's last call for alcohol. And I've been in there 15 hours straight. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Well, you've been here. You've been here my whole shift. And I remember telling her, I said, I've been in here your whole shift, and I've been in here the other girl's whole shift. What's your point? And, it's just, it doesn't have to be that way. Yeah, where we were at, I guess we were talking about hope and all that stuff. But, if you got some hope, and, I don't care, it says in the promises, no matter how far down the scale we go, we can see how our experience can benefit others. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff on pages 83 and 84 of the big book. And, if you're still breathing air and you've got a semblance that you believe that, you don't even have to be a Christian, just that you believe there's a power out there that's greater than you. And then you've got a chance. And but if you're gonna be a one-man show and you're gonna try to do it all yourself, then I wish you luck. Hope it works out for you. That's what I tried to do from being 18 years old, and I got sober. I was 32, so I went from 18 to 32 trying to use my own willpower to kind of control my drinking, and I failed miserably. And it's just like you and me, Luis, you and I mean, we were, of all the guys, especially on the offensive line, of all the fat guys, you and I would run hard and, work out hard and do extra stuff. And some of the guys that we, were with on the line with us, man, they were belly aching, griping. I mean, I didn't like it, but, you got stuff to do, you just do it. And, we've got to make an effort. We got to make an effort in this recovery business. If we find ourselves and we have the ism, whatever the ism is, then we got to take some steps, but we can't do it by ourselves.
Absolutely, absolutely. Community is the key. Thank you for sharing that. And what happened? We had a mishap. Spilled some water. I did. A computer fell over. And just as you were sharing, and we talked about this, Joe, how this message of hope, somebody's going to listen to it, and somebody's going to take the steps to get the help that they need and be at a place where they are recovered and their lives are changed and they're productive, responsible members of society. And there's a real enemy that does not want this message to get out there. He's the one responsible for the mishap with the water and the computer. But thank you so much for giving that testimony, Rebekah.
Yeah, I really do appreciate the testimony as well, and just trying to recover from the mishap because it was my computer that was doused in water, of course, the one that I used for all of my endeavors. But I'm grateful that it is all for a greater good, and that's what I really wanted to highlight from the testimony, the very powerful testimony that you shared, the moment that God really just met you when you were in your vehicle. And what I love about God is that although He is infinite, He is also very intimate. Mm-hmm. And although He's powerful, He's a personal God. And I just, as you are sharing your testimony, as a daughter of somebody who has gone through and walked a similar road, can you share what family members, what friends, what others in the community can do to help support their loved one as they are on their journey in their road to recovery?
Well, early on, I wish people would have been, my family and friends would have been rougher on me. I wish they would have drawn that line in the sand and, okay, either you're going to do this or, we're gone. And because we play that game and, you break up, make up, do it again, break up, make up, do it again, and it's, when you're in those addictions, I could be good for 3 or 4 days. I could say all the right stuff and all that, but there's got to be a transformation. There's got to be a change, and almost like an intervention that the family and the kids and the wife and all the people would get together and say, hey, either you either need to do this or you need to get out of here, yeah. And that's what. And I tell people all the time, especially with their wives. I tell the wives, I said, you need to leave before you fall out of love. Because what ends up happening is people stay together so long and the wife is begging and begging and begging and begging and begging and begging and begging. Then finally they fall out of love and they said, screw it, I'm gone. I don't care what you do. And then the alcoholic or drug addict or whatever, then he's oh no, wait. Let's get back together. I'll go do anything. But the woman's, usually it's a woman, and says, I'm done. I don't care what you do anymore. And so I always tell people, leave before you fall out of love, because one, you hanging around's not helping things out. And if this person's not going to change, you don't want to be around them anyway. And two, if they do change, you want to still have that love for them that will allow you to come back together and for a reconciliation. And, it's just a dicey game. It's just a lot of people, we got evil forces, the devil and all that working against us. And we have human angels here on earth that are working for us. And you two guys are prime examples. My wife, Jamie, I haven't talked, before a month ago, I hadn't talked to Luis since 1989. Wow. I always thought the world of him. I'd heard that he'd gotten himself in some trouble and did X, Y, and Z. But my wife, she's an Facebook person. I'm not a Facebook person. She gets on, and suggests, and she's telling me, hey, I'm contacting Luis and I'm going to give him your phone number. I hope he'll call you. And I see this, I get this message on my phone from a Michigan number. And I'm like, man, this is sweet. Mm-hmm. So my wife is really kind of an angel, this bridging this.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jamie.
Yeah. And, I'm so thankful for that. And, it's just so many things happen in my life that are just really neat. And I'm just very, very thankful. Luis was always, he came in as a young kid. I was in like my 4th year when he came in. So I was like the old grizzled veteran in my own mind, but three years older than he is. But, I just always had a tremendous amount of respect for Luis and, the way he played the game, and, he was a fierce competitor, and, he was talking about, learning the ropes early on in the games. I mean, yeah, that took about 15 minutes, because after he was there about 15 minutes, you're going to be a starter. So you better get ready. And so I always tried to help him any way I could. But, there's just things in the recovery business, and there's things in the football business that you just have to go through and learn yourself. I can tell you this stuff, and old timers and people that have been in recovery for a number of years can tell you things, but sometimes you just have to go through it yourself. And you know, doing stupid stuff is quite the teacher. And I tell people all the time, I said, I don't know exactly everything you should do, but I can tell you 1,000 things not to do. And so, that's what I try to do. I try to, I'm here, I'm there, I don't drink and all that, and try to be a spiritual person, but everything I do is not an instant, success. So, I'll try to learn and grow.
Absolutely. And speaking of success, I know that you have been very successful in transitioning out of your stellar football career into the business world, and you've been very successful in your business endeavors. Can you talk a little bit about what that transition was like for you, and what are the things that you are contributing to society today?
Yeah, I was, when I was playing ball, I was really, worked at it hard and all that. I think probably on the negative side, all the losing. I think by the time I got to my 11th year, I was just kind of burned out. And I was telling Luis, I never said this in the dressing room, but I would have these young rookies come in every year. And I've been 9, 10, 11 years, whatever. And they said, yeah, we're going to win the Super Bowl. We're going to do this and do that. And I remember sitting in there, and I'd gotten so jaded that I would, in my mind, go, yeah, right. Because, after you've gone through 5-11, 5-11, 5-11, 5-11, you just get beat down. So what I did was, I didn't necessarily want to leave. I wanted to play another year or two, but, the team, they'd gotten tired of paying me and not playing. So once I got out and got back to Greensboro with my family, I just kind of made up my mind. I said, you know what, I'm gonna figure out another business to get into. I'm going to take all the intensity, the focus, the drive, the hard work, and I'm going to take it from playing in the NFL, and I'm going to jump into business things. So I had been buying properties and buying started out in 79, I bought 6 apartments, and I bought 18 or 12, and just started out, and then I built in 1987. I built 60 units. So wow. I was just kind of stair-stepping doing this. So after 89, my W-2 form went down quite a bit, and so I just made up my mind. I said, I'm gonna really focus in on this construction business, because I really think that the way to get wealthy is through the acquisition of real estate and property, and it worked out good. And so that's what I did. I just took all that energy and all the focus, and plus I had the program, the recovery program, which the recovery program teaches you to be honest and be forthright and to be responsible and to get up every day and do your thing. And so I was born with this intensity thing, like Luis is, that I'm gonna work hard, and I'm nobody's gonna outwork me. I'm gonna figure out all the stuff to do or not do, but also the program, about being honest and taking care of the first things first. The most important thing for me to do was to be sober and clear-minded, and then, which would give me an opportunity to go out in the business world and make good decisions and to do things productively. And another God thing, the people that God put in my life that helped me do this. People out of the blue. Say, hey man, I heard you're in the apartment business. Yeah, I said, I've been in it for 30 years. I'd like to work for you. Okay. Wow. And then when they jump in there, they know 53,000 times more stuff than I did. And it's just, a lot of it's just been so lucky. But in the same breath, being sober and being clear-minded and treating people right, allows you to, have a good relationship with a lot of people. So it was a bunch of people that helped me out.
Joe, you talked about the spiritual thing and how you have an intimate relationship with God. And you talked about how recovery had to come first for you to transition from pro football and have the successes as a businessman, apartment builder that you've had. And I'm sitting here and I'm reminded of one of the promises, and I like to share this with anyone out there that might be having issues with substances and their life may be falling apart. You know, it says in the promises in Alcoholics Anonymous, it says, we will suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. It says, are these extravagant promises? We think not. They are being fulfilled among us, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly, but they will materialize if we what?
Work for them.
For them.
Yep.
So that's
right. Yeah, and I'm telling you what, and what was really strange, and I'm sure, Luis, you had a time with this too, that, you know, you'd have whatever big book y'all have in your program, and, you know, mine's, you know, the original big book, you know, written in the 30s. You know, there were times I'd read that book and it made no sense to me at all. You know, intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. You know, economic insecurity would have no more fear of that. Just all kinds of things that are in the promises, but all throughout that book, things that, you know, people telling me, you know, live one day at a time. I mean, it probably took me 5-10 years before I even realized what living one day at a time was. I just wanted to be sober forever. You know, I didn't realize I had to go through the 300th day, the 301st day, the 600th day, the 900th day, and all that. And then you start learning. It starts starts soaking into your head that, you know, just live today. And then, you know, and then when I go to bed, hey, God, thank you for allowing me to be sober today, allowing me to be safe, and you've taken care of me. You've allowed me to put my head down on the pillow tonight and get up the next morning and say, hey, lead me, guide me, and show me what you'd like me to do. And then and to me, that's how, like, the 11,000 whatever days, that's how it gets there. It's just that one day at a time, just doing what I can do right now. And then we'll worry about tomorrow. I mean, we're not promised tomorrow. And this program is just, and it's almost embarrassing that just so much simple stuff. I mean, stuff that I should already know. You know, I graduated from college, but all this is just stuff that I should have already known. And, you know, it was just mystified me that, you know, here I would be at 30, 40, 50 years old, learning things that to me I should have known when I was 6 years old.
Well, that's what pride, ego, and self-centeredness, you know what I'm saying? It's hard to learn those lessons when we're so full of pride and ego. And if we're not surrendered to a power greater than ourselves, you know, that's the ultimate difference, surrendering and letting God.
Yeah, it's all the facade. It's all the facade. It's all, you know, and I think I shared this when we were down in South Carolina, Luis, but, you know, it was all, I played the NFL and I got the second largest multifamily construction business in America. And that, you know, that's, you know, somebody had asked me, so, well, you know, tell me about yourself. And that's all I could tell them. And they were like, no, tell me about you. I want to know about you. And, you know, and I had that counselor that I think I shared with you earlier that, you know, he said, you've become a human doing instead of a human being. And I was like, a what? Human doing instead of a human being. He said, you get all your value and worth from your accomplishments on the face of this earth. You know, and you want to hear something that will really knock you off your, you know, Reggie White and Leonard Marshall and Lawrence Taylor at once knocking you on your can, was when this guy asked me, he says, do you think God's impressed with you playing in the NFL? You think God's impressed with you having the second largest multifamily construction company in America? I mean, literally, I'm sitting there listening. Now, this was my banner. This was the thing I was holding up over my head. This is who I am. And this guy's asked me that two questions, and I inherently would just think, God, he could care. I mean, it would be impossible for him to care less about those things that I was doing. I mean, I'm sure he was happy that, you know, whatever I was doing if I enjoyed it. But as far as getting any kind of, you know, like he was God saying, oh, I'm so impressed with you. I mean, no. Which it really, going through that whole aspect of my life, and I was probably sober about 20 years then, and learning to understand that I had value and worth just from being me, just because God was my father. and my Heavenly Father. And that's all that I needed. All this other stuff was just window dressing, which didn't mean a thing. And that helped me so much. I can't really even, I wish I were smart enough to have the words to tell how much it has meant to me to find a relationship with God that, that really explains, how honored I am to be his son.
A human being and not a human doing.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
a mouthful right there. Thank you for
Oh,
sharing.
it is. Yeah, but there's nothing wrong with us. There's nothing wrong with us doing things. I mean, Rebekah, you're minister, and your whole career, there's no doubt in my mind you're going to do some wonderful, wonderful things, and going to bring a ton of people to the Word. But that's not who you are. I mean, it's part of what you believe and what you are in the sense of your soul. But that's not, it's not the it's not exclusive in the sense that this is that it's just bigger than that. I like I said, I wish I had words that I could be a little more definitive about it, but you have inherent value and worth by your Creator, and He loves you more than anybody you can imagine, and it's just a neat thing. I just wish I wasn't so friggin' old when I figured all that out when I got taught that. But I'm glad I learned it before I hit the dirt.
And now you're sharing that message with so many other people, and it will reverberate for generations to come. So it's right on time, honestly.
Yeah, and I was talking to I was reading something the other day about counselors. They said that the overwhelming thing is that people come to them about is that they don't feel worthy or worthwhile. And, so that message, if they can ever tap into that value and worth thing, inherent value and worth, because, of your Creator, I think it would make people understand and feel better about themselves. That it's not all about what you do and, what your achievements are. And if you made the Pro Bowl 15 times in a row, or if you made $17 zillion, or you did all this or did all that, but it's that inherent value and worth.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you. That's a strong message, and thank you for sharing that. And one of the reasons, Joe, that we spend so much time today talking about recovery, talking about drug addiction, is because we witness, and I've read and sent you several articles talking about the losses, the people that have lost their lives during the pandemic and government lockdowns because they didn't have the fellowship, they didn't have meetings, and they tried to do it alone. And you spoke about that earlier. And it never works when we try to do it on our own. We are a recovering community. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to spend the time talking as we have about recovery, because we might be very well saving a life by the words and the testimonies that we're sharing here today. But transitioning back to football, I wanted to ask, you played with some NFL greats, Roger Worley, Dan Deerdorf, Otis Anderson, et cetera, with the Cardinals. Tell us about your experiences playing with those great players as we start the NFL season. The first NFL game is being played as we speak, the Hall of Fame game. What were your experiences playing with Hall of Famers, and what are some stories that you may remember that you can share with us?
Well, and I had you to that group too. I'll never forget we were in. Did you ever have training camp in St. Charles, Missouri?
No.
Okay, we were down in St. Charles, Missouri, and we had gone over to this little bar right across the street from the university, and so we're walking out, and Jim Hart, 13-year quarterback, hey, can I get a ride from you? And I was like, I was about like, well, no, here, you take my car keys, I'll walk. You can have my car. I was in such awe. And, you got a guy like Dan Deerdorf, very strong personality, very, very smart guy, very quick on his toes. Mel Gray, another great player, and Roger Worley, it was just a real honor to play with those guys. I think Roger Worley, I think back on that guy, and you played with him a year or so.
Yeah, I played for my first year with Roger.
Yeah, most unassuming superstar that I've ever met. I mean, this guy, you'd have thought he was the fourth team, whatever. And here this guy's made like 8 Pro Bowls and in the Hall of Fame now. But he was the most humble, just down to earth guy. And most of those guys, most of those guys were like that. And they were just hardworking guys and, pretty humble up to a point. We've all got a little bit of that, whatever, but it was an honor to play with guys because, just like you're playing the game and you see guys that, when you're 15, 12, 14 years old, and you're like, man, I'm playing with this guy. Wow. And, but it really, once you're out there a week or two, it's just like, well, he's another guy. But, it was just a real honor to be able to play in the league and even more so than the game itself, it was just the opportunity to meet really good guys. And, I'm so, like I said earlier, my wife, hooking us back up. I mean, this is invaluable. I mean, I think we played together 8 years and I mean, we went through some rough days. I mean, you and I, we were side by side. I mean, there were some rough games and we would console each other and we'd get pissed and we would say stupid stuff and we'd be back and we'd be out there the next Sunday. It was
battling every Sunday and never quitting. And that's one of the things that I respected most about you, Joe Bob. You were a fighter, you were intense, and you never quit.
Yeah,
you'd be the kind of guy I'd want to be in a foxhole with.
If I'm telling you right now, Luis Sharp, if I was in a hole right now and there were some foreign whatever's going on, you and my brother would be the 2 guys I'd want in there with me because I'd know that I might not last the night, but it won't be because of something that I didn't see. If somebody got me, I saw them and I dealt with them myself. But I knew these 2 guys behind me, there'd be more of them going down than would be us. But
absolutely.
And that's the thing about the game. It's there's scores and you win 40% of your games or whatever we won. I don't even know what it was, but it was just an honor to wear that NFL shield, and it was an honor to play with some really, really good men. Now, obviously, you or me or some of us probably deserve to play on some better teams than we did, but it is what it is. My wife, I'll never forget, she told me one time, she said, it's probably pretty good you didn't play on great teams and go to 4 or 5 Super Bowls. He said, your ego would have, he said, you may have never gotten sober. And I tell you what, the more I think about it, it really, it just shows you how God sometimes plans things out. And maybe me being on some lesser teams, allowed me to not sell my soul out where I lost my salvation. And because, I don't know. I could very easily see myself playing for the Redskins and winning a bunch of Super Bowls and being the biggest jerk that ever, walked down the street. So maybe it all worked out in God's plan, and maybe that was the plan for Luis Sharp and Joe Bostic not to be on such great teams. So maybe we didn't. The ego only got
so far
so big as New York, not the whole United States.
No, I agree. There's a lot of truth to that statement. I wanted to wrap up, Joe. I wanted to share one of the things that happened with me. I'll never forget as a first-round draft choice, going to our locker room, my very first practice, and going into the training room, and there was Machine taping the ankles of Jimmy Hart. And it was a surreal moment for me because I used to play Jimmy Hart in the background, the play school playgrounds in Detroit, Michigan. And here I was on the same team as Jimmy Hart, one of my childhood heroes. So I could relate when you said he asked for a ride and you're like, here, take my keys. I'll walk.
Yeah, my rookie year, Luis, we played the Minnesota Vikings. And there was a guy named Jim Marshall that was playing for the Minnesota Vikings. And and how they used to put the programs on your stool in the dressing room each week.
Right.
So I'm pulling this thing out. I'm looking in here, and I'm like, Jim Marshall, 20 years in the NFL. I said, man, I was 2 years old when this guy played his first year in the league. but he was playing on the other side of the line. He was playing against the left tackle, who was a guy named Brad Oates. But it just blew my mind. I kept looking at this guy going, man. And here I am. This is like our 10th game, and I'm all worn out. My shoulders are killing me, and all this stuff. And I'm looking at this guy. I'm going, "You've been playing 20 years. How do you do this?" And it's so you get in the league and you see a lot of things that. And I'm sure there were some guys. When you got in your first year, that had played 15, 17 years. And you're like, "Wow." But
Right.
It doesn't do you much good to have all that hero worship, because those guys will knock you on your butt.
Oh man, they'll knock you in your butt. But we survived for many years, and now because of those successes, we can go and pierce the hearts of many people and bring them a message of hope. I wanted to wrap up so that we can go watch this Hall of Fame game. I'm going to let my prodigious daughter wrap the show up. Joe Rebekah.
Yeah, well, again, we really just want to thank you for joining us this evening. Sorry about the small mishap, but I know that the word went forth and it was powerful. And you really have exemplified that, your greatness isn't in just what you have. It is in what you give. And you've given so much on tonight. And we know that this message is going to touch the hearts and minds and souls of many people. And that is what is most important. So computer ruined and all. We thank you.
I love you guys, and I appreciate what you're doing. I mean, I am just, I love you guys, and
we love you too.
And what you're doing is, you're doing God's work, and this is not easy work, but I'll tell you what, it's very rewarding, and I'm so thankful for your hearts, and y'all are good people, and I look forward to spending a lot of time with my old buddy.
Yeah,
October 7th, we're going to be together, and.
Maybe we'll bring Rebekah to St. Louis in October to Jim Hanifin's memorial. Looking forward to meeting Jamie. Jamie, I know you're going to watch this podcast, and maybe Rebekah will come with us so you guys can officially meet.
Well, I sure would love to meet her. I'm sure I met you back when you're probably a little 2 or 3 year old.
Yeah, knowing me in my infancy. So
you and Luis would bring your sister and I think you to the dressing room sometimes on Saturdays or something. But I vaguely remember. I definitely remember your sister, but I vaguely remember you. But I got an old mind, so it's a little fuzzy.
Love you, Joe. Thank you so much again.
Thank you.
Love you too. Y'all have a good night. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here. I'm honored. I mean, y'all have made my day. Thank you.
We'll do it again.
Absolutely.
All right. God bless. Okay. Thank you so much for tuning in to Sharp Talk. We really appreciate you all. We look forward to coming back before you soon. And Dad, you're going to watch the Hall of Fame game. So if you all are as well, enjoy.
This will be the last Sunday until February of 2022, where there won't be any NFL football on Sundays.
It's
something
an exciting
to be
time.
Proud,
yeah.
Happy about.
Looking forward to. Grace and peace, everyone. Take good care of yourselves and be well. Bye-bye.